A grand episode that wrapped up a lot of extraneous storylines and set everybody up in their rightful place. This was a beautiful season ending and gets us set up for the war to come. It's Game of Thrones, Season 6, Episode 10, The Winds of Winter. Alright, spoilers ahead, just so you've been warned. So as I said, a beautiful episode, very grand in scale. I mean, really starting off from the deliberate pacing of the beginning, those nice simple scenes, the piano music, very simple, that slowly rose and became more complex as that whole sequence, the sept, developed. I just think it was beautifully done there. And of course, we get to wrap up there the whole High Sparrow storyline, and quite appropriately too. I mean, again, we knew they were coming. If we were paying attention to all the little hints that had been dropped off in the last couple of episodes, we knew where this was going to go. And I think it was just beautifully set how everybody is getting ready. We even have Cersei getting ready in the very striking, very powerful dress there. I mean, we're seeing a very strong change in Cersei in this moment. And her attempts to use the mountain to save Tommen from the deaths that were all about to come. And we just get to see that moment where really the Sparrow is exposed for who he is. Just torturous, just cruel, looking to see those in a high station kneel down before him. That whole sequence with Loras as the broken man, very hard. And then, of course, we get to see how Marjorie had made a deal with the High Sparrow to do all this in order to let Loras go. Didn't exactly work out the way that she saw, but she was smart enough to at least note that something was wrong. Too late, even if she had gotten out of the sept at that point. The way that explosion went out took out so much of the area. I don't think there was any chance that on foot she or anybody else could have gotten away in time, even once she had realized what was going on. And then, of course, we are seeing the birds, the little whispering birds. They used to belong to Varys, but are now under the control of Qyburn, who is teasing everyone down. The Lannister boy who had betrayed everyone, become part of the Faith Militant, first to be taken out, and of course to find the stores of wildfire underneath the sept. We have a goodbye to Maester Purcell, and a lot of little birds just striking him down. I like how Qyburn even said, I hold no ill will towards you personally. This is just the way that things are going. And then, of course, the resultant effect on Tommen, I thought, was beautifully and simply done as he's staring out the window in the smoke, and how he just pulls off the crown, turns, and walks away. And you can start to think, is he gonna? And he doesn't. It was beautiful and simple. Again, just walks right up to the window and just falls out. It was just, well, he's done. We're wrapped up. And Tommen was kind of weak, so appropriate. But of course, what this means is all of Cersei's children are now dead, which is, I guess, where she decides to just go ahead and take her place on the Iron Throne, as really she has sat for quite some time. She's manipulated, even when Robert was king, she was manipulating things behind the throne. And then with her children in charge, with Tommen and Joffrey, little psycho Joffrey. This, I mean, again, at least everything is clear now. There isn't anyone who is taking a place and trying to be the mouthpiece for. This is Cersei just taking the throne where she believes she is supposed to be. And then that last moment also with Jaime coming up, seeing the smoke, and then seeing her ascend the throne. Not a lot of pride in that shot. The look on Jaime's face was definitely one of worry, and I'm sure that he could have figured out what has happened if he hadn't heard on his way up to the keep to see what was going on, that the wildfire had been used, that everyone is dead, even that Tommen is dead, and that she has now taken her place on the throne. That last look between the two of them. Remember, Jaime had to take down Aegon Targaryen because he was going to burn down King's Landing. And now we're starting to see Cersei unhinged with everything that has happened, heading kind of in that direction. So that might bring up a very bad final encounter between the two of them. And then, of course, up north at Winterfell, we have the return of the Starks. Also, I liked, paid attention in the opening bit, the flayed man symbol is no longer on the model of Winterfell in the opening credits, but it is back to the Stark wolf. So, again, nice little bits that they have done there, but really we're establishing that relationship, that strong relationship between Sansa and Jon. How much Sansa used to tease Jon, and now they are really, one, they're the last Starks. As far as they know that Arya is still out there. But two, they've really both gone through a lot, and I love the discussion between the two of them, how they both have to trust each other, and really the discussions between the two of them is who should lead Winterfell. You know, she's saying, Jon, you're the son, you're the man, you should take over this, whereas of course Jon is saying, no, you're an actual Stark, you have a stronger grab onto the throne, onto the position of head of Winterfell. So I like the little discussions of them. Again, not anything about who's better or anything, really just the discussion between the two of them is who is going to represent better, who is going to bring everyone forth, all of the tribes, all of the Northerners together. So I really like those little moments in between them. And of course it starts off with Jon really showing leadership. He's having that moment with Melisandre when Davos comes in and just throws the little figurine at her and makes her say what happened to little Princess Shireen. That was so heartbreaking. You just see the differences, how much Jon had connected with Melisandre. In a way, as just an advisor, but he didn't really know her. And Davos just throwing the reality of what she has done down in front of him. He really didn't have any choice. He could have granted Davos leave to go ahead and execute her. But the reality is that Jon does owe her his life. Literally, he would be dead without her, or still dead, as it were. So I think it's an appropriate way to turn her loose. She still has some part in the story to play forward. We know that, but now she's out. And again, that's that strong position. It's very much like Ned Stark right there. It doesn't really matter what my personal connection is with you. You have done something wrong, and therefore you must pay. I thought that was a really nice kind of throwback almost to the very first episode when we saw Ned beheading the men that had left the Night's Watch. Really stepping into that role and showing his strength as a leader. But what that comes down to mainly is his ascension as King of the North. And I love the discussion where Lyanna, a little 10-year-old girl, just steps up and throws it down to all the other lords around. It's like, you didn't support him and you didn't support him, and I said that he is. And there's a lot of great appropriateness that it was Lyanna Mormont. One, as we have discovered with Bronn's little scene, Jon Snow is the son of Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen. He was born to Lyanna. That's when Ned went and found her in the Tower of Joy, found Jon, and Lyanna's little whisper to him, you must keep the secret safe, because Robert Baratheon would have killed Jon in a moment. Robert Baratheon, when he was going after Targaryens, ordered all the Targaryens killed, including the children. That's how Dany and her brother had gotten away over into the east, and Jon Snow would have been dead if Ned hadn't claimed him as his bastard. So very appropriate, saved his life, but now he's a Stark and a Targaryen, which means that he could be the second dragon rider. As we had talked about, there has to be three. There are three heads for the dragon. We have Dany that we know is a dragon rider. We have Jon, who is probably the second, and that just leaves the third, which, again, a lot of fan theories are, and one that I support, is that is going to be Tyrion. So, again, I think very appropriate that little Lyanna Mormont calls up King the First as the King of the North to ascend him to that throne. One, named after his mom, and two, she's of House Mormont, and it was Jorah Mormont, the head of the Night's Watch, that sort of gave Jon that position, that sort of was training him and had seen him as the rightful one to come up and be the next Lord Commander, which he did become. So from both sides of that family image, I think it was really appropriate that Lyanna was the one to first proclaim him King of the North, and then everyone else kind of fall into line. And even Sansa right there, I think, pleased with that moment. She did believe that Jon is the better one to ascend the throne. And then her little exchange with Littlefinger, kind of nice. You can see Littlefinger being honest, throwing out, I want to be on the Iron Throne and I want you right next to me. And she just walked away. That was perfect. Oh, that's a pretty picture. La la la. It was really nice. Though I think there was that kind of last moment between the two of them where it was possible, like, well, he could still get what he wants. This doesn't exactly change that particular vision that Littlefinger has for himself, though of course we know that that is not going to happen. And then we have Dany ready to cross the ocean finally and go into Westeros. And just having to wrap up a few little things there. One, gotta say goodbye to Daario. Cannot bring Loverboy with you over to the edge. And I loved how Daario immediately notified, this was Tyrion's idea, wasn't it? Which of course it was. Tyrion's a very smart advisor, very much knows how the big game is played. And I love their little moments together. Very quiet, very personal right there. Very kind of warning of like, you're in the great game now, and the great game is terrifying. Very true. But even better moment right there as she is ascending to her position with her big army, with everyone around, with the ships, with Theon and Yara and everyone right there. There's this beautiful scene right at the end as the whole ships and fleets are heading for Westeros, is that Tyrion is named Hand of the Queen. He was a wonderful hand, even working for Psycho Joffrey. He did a lot of great things. He was perfect as the hand and as the advisor, and now he has that position officially. So I think, again, everybody ascending into their rightful places throughout this episode. And like I said, even as we saw that final shot of everyone heading out, everyone is where they need to be. And through that, we also got to see where Varys went, making that nice little connection with the girls of Dorne and, of course, with the Queen of Thorns herself, Olenna Tyrell, who lost everything because of Cersei. Lost her son, lost her grandson, lost her granddaughter, connection to the throne, everything. She's rightfully pissed. And of course, the ladies of Dorne, the Sand Snakes, and all of them also rightfully pissed at Cersei. All of her enemies are now coming together. And this is really, we got a lot of girl power happening in this episode, which I really kind of enjoyed. I mean, obviously we have Dany coming back, grabbing the throne, moving forward with that. You have Cersei taking her position on the Iron Throne, like I said, is where she's kind of always been. Then we've got the ladies of Dorne and Olenna Tyrell connecting into together. So everybody, a lot of, even Sansa on her own right. I mean, she could have ascended as the Lordess, as the Lady of Winterfell, gave that more over to Jon, but still in a strong position herself. And depending on what happens with Jon, she might still have to step up into that position. So I like the girl power that's going on. And that brings me to my favorite scene of the week. Scene of the week! And that would, of course, be Arya taking out Walder Frey. And I loved how they did set up nice moments, really showing what a disgusting creature Walder Frey is. Even Jaime didn't want to have anything to do with him. Is tired of his talk, is tired of his sick point of view. I love the scene with Bronn and Jaime in the beginning. There's nice little moments there. But even Jaime's reflection on that. So how much fighting have you done, Walder Frey? You talk a lot, but you're really more of that manipulator. And I just thought that it was a perfect scene. Arya feeding him his own sons and then pulling the mask off, obviously holding on to a lot of the skills that she learned in the House of Black and White with the Faceless Men, and proclaiming who she was and taking him out, killing him exactly the same way that he had killed Arya's mom, that slice to the throat and just letting it all bleed out. Just beautiful. I was so happy to see it. Normally I'm not one to cheer death, not my thing. But this is Arya, and this is Arya returning to Westeros to continue to exact her revenge. And you gotta think, the Faceless Gods gotta be thinking okay about this, because they're still getting their dead. And that seems to be what they want. And then, of course, even at the end, we have Bronn Stark assuming his rightful place and accepting that as the three-eyed raven. As Benjen drops them off, he and Mira, up just north of the wall, and says that he has to leave because he can't go to the wall because he's dead and there's all these spells with the wall. Understandable. Of course, all I'm thinking is Mira just supposed to drag Bronn the rest of the way to the wall? It still seemed a little bit of a distance. But still, we have Bronn accepting his role as he tells Mira, when she says, "Are you ready?" It's like, I am the three-eyed raven. I have to be ready. And then, of course, we saw the whole scene with the Tower of Joy. And then finally we have, again, wrapping up little things, last but not least, Sam heading into the library. That was beautiful. That is an impressive library, but you can see the joy on his face. This is really where, this is where he is. And I love the little shot of just the introduction. The Citadel is obviously the center of bureaucracy in Westeros. The guy that was working the front desk, it's the DMV. He is now at the DMV library. That seems to be the case. So we have everybody stepping into their roles. As I said, that's really the big theme of this episode. Very grand, very beautiful, but everybody stepping into their rightful places to set up for the big war, which is obviously going to happen next year because all the pieces are now set. The North is set and united together. We have Cersei at King's Landing and all of her forces, and then we have Dany coming in overseas with all of her forces and the Dothraki and just everybody in those ships, and of course the three freaking dragons head of. So it's I think it was just a beautifully done episode. Really wrapped up a lot of extraneous stuff that we don't need to pay attention to, isn't going to be as important in focusing on to the final little bits of moments. So what this means is next year is the war. And we know that because winter is here. As the White Raven arrived up in Winterfell, winter has arrived. It's no longer winter is coming, it's winter is here. Just a lovely way to wrap up the season. A lot of great stuff happening. Instead, really, this is where stuff went on. And I think not being tied to the books has helped because now they can just get rid of the extraneous stuff and really focus on the big stories. Now, rumor has it that we've got 2 more seasons. They're going to do a season 7 and a season 8, and they may be truncated, not quite 10 episodes each. These are all rumors. We don't know for sure. They haven't even started shooting the next season yet. So, this is all kind of up in the air. There's just a lot of speculation as what is to come. But I do know, and that can be guaranteed, that what is going to come is going to be awesome. And is going to be great. The way that they have set everything up, the budget that they have, and that may be why they are shortening episodes is budgetary constraints, because there's going to be a lot of big stuff happening. It is going to be expensive. So if we see a few less episodes and those episodes are more awesome, I'm all about that. So that wraps us up. This is the end of season 6. We're not going to be able to see any more Game of Thrones for a year. That sucks. But what a way to go. What a beautiful moments, great scenes, just a lot of raw moments throughout this episode. I really hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Now, coming up, going to have about a week break, and then we will be back July 14th for Mr. Robot. The premiere's on the 13th. Review will come out the next day on the 14th. So you can stick around and we'll see that. Otherwise, I hope you guys are having a great summer. If you did like my review, a like is always appreciated. You can hit that button, subscribe button right here under the Game of Thrones sign. You can press that, come back for all of our future episodes. Also, got to see some of the previews for Westworld. Might have to do that one too. That looks really good on HBO. So a lot of great stuff coming up forward. So ideas, comments, thoughts, what were your favorite parts of the episode? Throw those down in the section below. You can always reach me on Twitter. I'm at Darren Jakes. You can catch that right there. Otherwise, this is it. I hope you guys really enjoyed the season. I thought it was fabulous. I thought it ended great. I love the final scene of just the ships coming, the dragons overthrow, and Dany and her whole crew just heading towards Westeros. I'm really, really looking forward for next season. though bummed that I have to wait about a year for that to happen along with the rest of you. So, anyway, that's it. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I am out of here, but I will be seeing you guys coming up very soon. Anyway, I'm D, and I'm gone. Y'all take care now. Bye-bye. Winter is here.